We are live on air, Jenica.
Wonderful.
So welcoming everybody, if we have any listeners out there or whenever you join or listen later. This is Exploring the Full Spectrum Life After Show Party Hangout. And today we're going to continue the discussion about vibration and frequency in our lives and how to lift it up a notch. And I'm really excited to have Jenica Hen Fredrickson here with me. She was on the show a couple of weeks back about creativity, and excited to get her take on all of this. What are your thoughts about, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to any of the show. Did anything stand out to you? If you did, Jenica? Oh, wait a minute. Are you muted? We're having an audio deal. Let's see here. See if we can fix this audio issue from this side. Or hey, Moni.
Hello.
Glad you're joining us today. I have Jenica on the other one, but she was having an audio issue. I don't know what was going on.
Okay.
I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. Well, I'm glad you're with us today. I don't know if you had a chance to hear what the topic was that I was talking about, and this is like such a big topic. Oh, there's Jenica back. Let's see if her audio is working real quick.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful.
So, Jenica, I'd like you to introduce you to Moni's here with us today.
Hi. Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Great.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you all are here. I had so much fun on the first hangout that we did. I feel like this is such a really powerful way to get a broader perspective on the topic. And we had some feedback from the first one that was really cool. So just it's helpful to, people get to see our faces, and they may resonate with what one of us has to say, and it may provide some really powerful insight. So I don't know, Jenica, back to you for a minute. Did anything stand out to you from what you listened to?
I think I really enjoyed hearing you compare your experience, your real-world analytical experience with your creative experience. I think that we're moving forward in time. People are having a harder time realizing that they're one and the same, and that you can have duality within your life. You can be both analytical and creative, and that the two have a tendency to nurture and feed each other so that you don't run out of fuel in one area.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. That's one of the things that I was really inspired with, over the last couple of days, because you were actually the one that inspired this topic to come up, and it connected with some things that were already going on in my life, and then it went like, it created something. So I really resonate with what you're saying, because there's all these different kind of aspects of our lives, and they're all important.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think as far as your topic, to have a full spectrum life, you cannot be focused on just one area. It has to be focused on all the different facets that make you who you are.
Yeah, and I really resonated too with, looking at the different, what area may be a weakness in, like for myself, those four kind of dimensional areas, like the physical, emotional, mental, and the energetic side of life. What area may be your weak point? I know these last 10 years for me have really been focusing on the emotional and physical side a lot, because I tended to be more in the energetic, mental part of life and less in the more embodied part of life. And I've had to spend more time balancing that part of the spectrum out and raising that up. raising my belief system around, my emotions, and raising my belief system around, and getting my body's energy flowing to assist with the mental and energetic side, so that they all work together.
Mhm.
Moni, did you have any thoughts, or I don't know if you got to see or listen to any of the
I'm
show?
going to tell you something that I have rarely ever shared with anybody. I think I've only shared it with my husband and a couple of friends. But it ties into what you just said, and it's that I had a time when we lived in the Midwest, when I had gone through some very quick spiritual development. And my body was feeling weird, and I went through a whirling dervish period where I could not, I had this irresistible urge to turn around, and I would turn and turn until I dropped or until I hit something. One time I whacked my head really bad, and I couldn't stop. It was stronger than me. And then I talked with a healer, and she told me that what was going on is that my body was having a hard time adjusting to the new spiritual frequencies, and that's where I was having this uncontrollable desire to twirl. And so now that I'm more into fitness, I work out at least 5 days a week, and I even became because I'm not inwardly motivated. I need external forces to motivate me. I became a fitness instructor, and I do that in the mornings because it's the only way to make me get to the gym every day. I just wouldn't do it otherwise, and so since I started doing that, I don't have that problem anymore. And whenever I feel like I'm having a spiritual upgrade, I can easily integrate it because I keep my body in good shape.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, I am so excited to just see your face, Moni, and know who you are, because years ago I lived in Knoxville, and one of my dear friends had mentioned you and said you need to meet her. And
Oh,
then I ended up moving, and now I'm seeing you, and it's like it was all that I could think about the whole time you were talking. I was like, oh my gosh, full circle. Look how that happened. That's wonderful.
awesome.
I love that
I
connection.
also like when you today during the radio show when you defined vibration, and you use such simple words that anybody can understand. You also define frequency, because I hear like a lot of people talk about raising your vibration or waking with vibration, and they're not really sure what it is, and or they cannot define it. They may have an intuitive understanding of what it is, but they cannot define it. So they find themselves, when talking to other people, like they cannot express it. And so I really like that you did that.
Cool. Yeah, because for me, like, it can be so analytical, and it really is just. I mean, I think if we make it too out there, it's not practical then. And I find sometimes a challenge because I can be real mental in my approach to things and think about things a lot, but then when it really comes down to applying it, it's like, what is it? It's just like, finding a rhythm, like there's finding a rhythm in our lives, and then we have all these different parts of ourselves that we have to kind of learn to bring the frequencies into alignment so that they resonate and work and just kind of build. And one thing when I was, in engineering I would work with all the time is that concept of resonance, where things resonate, and when things go into resonance, then there's no energy that you need to exert. It just automatically takes off.
Yes.
And so I think about, if we find that resonance in these different aspects of our life, find that match where we get everything kind of lined up, and then our life just kind of just goes woof automatically.
Yeah. When I first started my feng shui business back in the day in Mississippi, I had called it spiritual or spatial resonance. And then I moved away from that because I realized a lot of people did not understand what resonance was. I think, what you said, that if you can get into a rhythm and if you can use resonance, you can really get things done with very little effort. And they sort of become automatic. Yeah.
Gosh, what is that? what would that even look like for people? You know, because I think the concept of that is so powerful.
Well, I think that that's that moment where you know you're at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. That's what resonance is. I mean, I think we've all had experiences where you've either been somewhere or in the middle of a conversation and you receive goosebumps and you feel like, yes, someone is speaking my truth as well as their truth. I think that's what it is. And I think we're approaching a time where it's more important that we are able to introduce these thought processes in practical, applicable ways every day.
Oh my gosh, I totally resonate with that, Jenica.
You know, something that comes to mind is when something's automatic, like brushing your teeth. If you get used to brushing your teeth after every meal, or at least, you know, morning and night, if you go to bed without brushing your teeth, you feel icky.
Uh-huh.
And you don't, you know, you, as part of your routine of going to bed, you go brush your teeth. You don't think about it. You don't have to remember and track. How is this done? You know, how do you brush your teeth again? What do you need? You know, let's make a list of the things that I need. And it's not like that. It's automatic. And I think that if we can get into, like what my friend, you know, who's a Reiki teacher, calls spiritual hygiene, if we can incorporate things in our life that become that as automatic as brushing our teeth, we can raise our vibration, our chronic vibration, in a much easier way. If we make it, you know, part of our rhythm, part of our cycles.
Yeah. I think I've said something about this because lately I've really had to acknowledge, like, for myself, like, maintaining my home space these last couple of months. Like, if I let it get out of just a sense of order, like if the dishes kind of pile up even a little bit, it completely clogs my creative flow. Like, it's automatic, and I have to just remind myself that I'm doing this right now because it's supporting me and my greatness in my everyday life. You know, even down to making my bed, which when I was a kid and for many years, I was just like, you know. But I don't really have a choice in the matter because the energy is not clear. It's like my mental house isn't clear if I don't have, you know, do certain things, and that automatically raises my vibration if I certain discipline things for myself.
You know, one of the most popular articles on my blog, the one top 3 hits, is when I wrote an article about how making your bed can change your life. Yeah, seriously. Everybody makes their bed. Everybody makes their bed. Some people make it in the morning and their room looks tidy all day long. And some people make it at night right before they go to bed and their room looks untidy all day long. But you have to straighten it up. I mean, whatever you do, you know, you may not be making the bed in the way that your mama taught you how to. But before you go to sleep, you have to straighten the bed. And so I tell people, how about you do that in the morning instead of doing it at night? It's the same effort. But the kind of feedback it gives you is just so different. There's just something about making the bed that if you don't make the bed, it makes you feel like a slob. You know, and that's really bad feedback to have every day. And other things, you know, like you being a guy and being raised in the South, I imagine that it wasn't stressed as much for you to do housework as for your sisters. Maybe it was, you know, you were part of a unique family, but in most families, you know, guys are like, women do things for them. And so one thing, like, I go and do consultations, feng shui consultations for people, and sometimes a mother will tell me she's terribly exhausted because she has 3 kids and she's doing laundry every single day. And I'm like, your children are 13 and 15. What's wrong with them that they cannot do their own laundry? You know?
Uh-huh.
And my children have been doing their laundry since they were 8 and 5. And of course, the 5-year-old needed a lot of help in the beginning. But now at 9 and 12, you know, my job is to remind them it's getting too high. But the reason I do that is not because I don't want to help them or I don't love them. And it's not even that I don't have the time. I have the time. But it's important for them to make it into a habit so that when they grow up, doing their laundry is going to be like brushing their teeth. Just something that you do because I don't want it to weigh on them. I make sure that while they're under my care, they make it into a habit.
I love that. Jenica, did you have any thoughts on all that?
I had a conversation with someone in my life just recently about she went home to go visit her parents, and she realized when she was there and when she's in the company of others that she loves, it's very reflexive of for her to pick up, to do the dishes, to put things away. And it wasn't because it was a habit, it was because that was how she demonstrated her love for them. And she said, she goes, so going home, I need to make sure I demonstrate that same amount of love that I have for others for myself. And it changes the focus of feeling like something's a chore to no, this is as good as going and getting a pedicure done. It's showing that I love myself, that I'm putting time in making sure that my environment is happy. And I think that that is really helpful, especially as busy creative people. I mean, our schedules are absolutely running all the time. And I always say you can tell where I'm at in the cycle of my busyness with the bedroom. If my bedroom is a wreck, it is because I'm running so much that I have not saved enough energy for myself. And so there's definitely peaks and valleys.
Yeah, it really is our home space, and our lives tend to mirror where we're at in the different other areas, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting ongoing thing, but I think really what both of y'all are saying really hits on the head, because I mean really it comes down to self-love. I mean, making a choice to do something because it's going to, it's going to feel good, it's going to improve your day, and that sort of thing. Like I've said this a bunch of times this last month, in order for me to really get through these really powerful energetic changes, I decided and was hearing all this guidance that it's time for you to commit to a daily practice again, which for me it's doing breathing, meditation, and yoga in a particular set that works for keeping me feeling good. And some days I just don't want to do it. It just feels awful, but I just think in the moment of how amazing I feel after I do it, and connect with that love that you're talking about, and it's just like, wow. I guess one of the illusions that I want to disperse in this topic is so many, and I had a session that I did recently with somebody, and is an ongoing kind of theme where people think that I get to tell them what's going to happen in their life. They want to know, and I have to tell them that this is your choice. I'm not here to tell you what's going to happen in your life. You may want someone to tell you, but that is not my job to tell you. It's your job to decide what it is you want, and I can help you kind of analyze and look at what different areas of your life are not going. Maybe they're a little cluttered, or and help you kind of focus in on an area to work on, and that kind of thing, and maybe help you see where your emotional state is. If you're not comfortable going there, we can kind of go into that place. And I'm realizing that more and more of what people seem to need right now is support and nurturing to get to do some of these things that they're not necessarily easy.
They're not, and I think that there's nothing wrong with paying somebody to do it for you if you can afford it. There's some things that you may have, you probably, most people in the United States can't have a full-time maid that's going to do the dishes after every meal, things like that, but the general maintenance, upkeep of the house, vacuuming and dusting, things that not necessarily have to be done every day, you can hire somebody to do your bathrooms, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to find a way to do it. Now, if you cannot afford it, then you need to motivate yourself to do that. But it's good to know certain, as a feng shui consultant, I go into a person's home. And by the kind of clutter, I know what life areas are challenged. And also where they clutter gives me important clues as to what's going on, but I don't tell them to declutter. And a lot of people are surprised by that. my consultations are done in 9 stages, and I only tell people to declutter when we get to the 7th stage. So it's near the end. And the reason for this, some people just don't have the energy. And if I tell them they need to declutter, they just get depressed. And so that's not serving anybody. You know, if people are just getting depressed when you tell them something, that's not helpful to anybody. And so are you all curious as to what types of clutter indicate what?
Yeah. If you could only see what I'm looking at this moment, you would understand.
Mention the type of clutter, and I'll tell you what it's related to.
Art supplies everywhere. I'm a full-time artist, so my clutter is artwork and supplies. They are everywhere all the time. I'm out of space.
Artwork and supplies, and that's of course, you have to do a customized reading every time, but usually that has to do with fame, reputation, and social life. That's where the challenges are, and so it can be different for different people, but that's the sense that I'm getting in this case.
That makes perfect sense.
I would look at issues around being recognized as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on. Good job.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Do you want to mention a type of clutter, Mike?
Say that again.
Did you want to mention a type of clutter to see what it's associated with?
Oh, for me or for Jenica?
No, in general, like type
in general. Oh,
what type of clutter comes to mind?
I think of just because I grew up with mail and different kinds of, where you bring stuff into the house and you just set it down on the counter, like your day-to-day life where it kind of builds up on the counter, so to speak, like the mail, maybe it's letters from people or that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting because it can be a little different. If you don't take care of mail, that usually indicates that you are not very good at taking advantage of opportunities, that you let opportunities pass by. And because that's about timing. And if it's other type of paperwork you don't take care of, that's usually related with disconnection from spirit, lack of trust. Yeah. So it's really interesting, as you see that, to see the different types of clutter and also where they accumulate.
We should probably also talk about laundry, because I think laundry, when I talk to my friends, that's the one thing we all complain about is, oh my gosh, I got to do laundry again. Does it ever stop? I think especially as you mentioned, many moms and dads find themselves overwhelmed by the amount of laundry that they have to do.
Well, part of it is logistics, and part of it is delegating responsibility where the responsibility really lies. If you do not teach your children to do their own laundry and get them into the habit of doing their own laundry, when they go off to college or when they get their own place, it's going to be a messy place. That's what you're setting them up for. But if you are unable to control your laundry, that is related to the wood element, which has to do with health and wealth. And it also many times has to do with self-esteem. And clothes are very much connected to self-esteem. I play this game when I'm bored and when I'm waiting for somebody, that I imagine, I don't know what it is about Michael. I reveal things about myself I have never revealed before.
It's one of his charms.
It seems like it's safe to say anything, but if I'm bored and waiting, I look at people and I look at what they're wearing. And I try to imagine what they were thinking when they bought this piece of garment. I look at it like, that shirt, at what moment did this person try it on and look in the mirror and say, yeah, I should buy this? And with some of them, it's like, why? Or like, what was this person thinking? Or maybe it was a gift, or maybe they got it at a thrift store, And I play that game of thinking, imagining what was in people's minds when they chose a certain garment. And because they're so intrinsically linked. And another one of my very popular articles is about how to declare clothes for self-esteem, for weight loss and things like that. But it's just some things, like you might have fun playing the same game, like if you see a person wearing an outfit that doesn't really become them, what thought was, I see some women wearing outfits that are like not very different from a sack of potatoes. Seriously, like they're like a two shape, they hide everything, they're a brownish, dead color, and so I have to assume, just without knowing them, that there's something going on there with self-esteem, because when the person puts this thing on that doesn't look good on them, and they're either unable to see it in the mirror, or they decide that's an okay look for me, there's something going on. Because the person with healthy self-esteem, it doesn't matter their shape. It doesn't matter their size. Think of Aretha Franklin, how beautiful clothes, and so it doesn't matter. The person with high self-esteem, they will choose clothes that look good on them, colors that look good on them, fabrics that feel good on them, and there's weight is not necessarily what defines beauty. And so you can have a person that's very heavy and buys a beautiful outfit, and when they walk into a room, the first thing people perceive is beauty rather than their weight. And so that's it's very important, I think. And I think it also has to do with the vibration, because whenever you see yourself in the mirror, if you're wearing clothes that make you look bad, that bad feedback is considered in feng shui equivalent to having a person standing there in front of you saying you look bad. And that's very, very bad for your, it establishes a negative feedback loop with your own self. And so in the opposite situation, every time you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, I like that. Or at least there's something about it that I like. You say, well, I like my hair. I like the colors. And so that builds up over time.
I think you touched, Moni, on something that's probably really important with, self-esteem and, raising that self-esteem vibration up. I know that's been something that I've continuously work on, but it takes a lot of different approaches. It takes being honest with myself. It takes doing things physically that I appreciate and feel good about, that reflect that goodness, kind of like what you were talking about. Whether it's sometimes it's buying myself things that I maybe don't want to spend the money on, but I need to do it anyway because it's also encouraging of abundance to go out and do it. But then sometimes it's just simple actions, or it's going out into the world, like for me, and just serving a purpose or helping people or different things like that raise my vibration with myself and that sort of thing. But there's so many ways to look at that. But I think that this idea of self, how we think about ourselves, is really an important one right now.
I think it's interesting because I heard someone else say this to me. I know it was true within my own family upbringing. But this interview that I had seen was talking about how she had grown up without positive body image from the females within her family. That they had been conditioned to have a constant dialogue of self-loathing. And I know that, I have a daughter, and when she was very little, I really realized that as I do, so will she. And what I did not want for her was to have that inner dialogue of self-loathing, of questioning how she looks, of questioning how she feels and who she is. And I worked really hard to change the mindset within myself and creating a dialogue of self-talk that I would want her to have with herself. I would want her to look in the mirror and think she's beautiful. I would want her to look in the mirror and say, this looks great on me. I feel good in this. I like this about myself. I love this about myself. And I've noticed specifically in the last month maybe in particular that it's become such an ingrained habit within myself because I'm trying to mirror that for her that I do it without even realizing it. And I'll look in the mirror and it'll be, 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll probably have paint smeared somewhere on my face at that point. And I'll look in the mirror and my instant reaction is, oh, you're beautiful. I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. That is when you realize that, oh my God, I've made it. And if I've made it, then you can too. And then I look at my daughter, who's definitely very artistic and fashion forward and always on point. I see her, how that has affected her, and how she herself has a very good internal dialogue of self appreciation. And that's different than a false sense of ego, because a false sense of ego is always coming from a place of insecurity. The self appreciation is always coming from your own essential truth about how you feel about yourself.
That's awesome. Jenica, did it help you to utilize, like, as a mother, your daughter as a vehicle, like an intention to do that around?
I work with a lot of young people in particular. And I interviewed someone. I'm filming a documentary right now about community and how do we have healthy, positive relationships with each other and within our communities. And during my interview this morning, our preliminary conversation, I was talking with this friend, and I said to her what I say to everyone that I meet. Think about the person that you love. What advice would you give them? What would you want them to do? Then act accordingly. Because sometimes it's very hard to think about what you should do. In the highest level, we have a tendency to get tripped up in the mind jungle of if I should or shouldn't I, or is that the right decision or isn't it? But often when we come to give advice to someone we care about, we seem pretty confident in what that person should do. So in this particular situation, I was advising this person about a relationship that they have in their life, and I could see the hesitation. And I said, okay, let's turn the tables. Take everything you know about the situation. Put me in the situation. What would you, as someone who loves me dearly, what would you tell me to do? She knew instantly what she would say. And I said, that's your answer. I think that's really helpful. I think it's helpful as a parent. I think it's helpful as a person that has anyone in their life. What would you tell your mother to do? What would you tell your best friend? What would you tell your father, your boyfriend, your dog? What would you say? Would you say, hey, don't eat that. That's not good for you. Put that out. That's poison. If you would, then why are you eating it?
Mm.
It's a different way of approaching it. Sometimes it's easier to love someone else. And I've said that before to someone who is really struggling with just everyday issue of how to live. Do you know what I mean? Like how to get up and how to live. And they were in a very desperate situation. And I looked at them and I took both their hands, and in a very serious moment, I looked them right in the eye and I said, if you do not have the strength to live for you, that's okay. Have the strength to live for me until you're strong enough. And it startled them for a second, and they thought about it, and they realized what I was saying. In Eat, Pray, Love, the author talks about that, how she was dedicating her prayers to someone, a child in her life that she loved, because at that point, she couldn't focus on the prayers for herself, but she could because she loved this child. And hopefully you work your way back to it's about you and you are focusing on you. But sometimes you need motivation. And I mean, earlier when we were talking about clean living spaces, I'm definitely a person that's motivated by community. I'm motivated by the people that are in my house. My house is always full of people, always full of people. The public spaces are always clean because it's not for me, it's for them.
Mm.
I enjoy the benefits of it, and I love it because I love that they feel so comfortable in my space. And doing the dishes is a pleasure because I know that it makes the people that are in my space happy. It's something so simple. But, there's one person that's in my house, like, that's their pet peeve. They hate dishes in the sink. So, man, if there's a dish in the sink, I will wash that dish because I want them to be happy. I love them. That's my act, my small little act of, hey, I'm telling you I love you with my action.
I really bet that resonates to a lot of people, what you just said, in different circumstances and from different backgrounds. Because from my background, I've had a different one in terms of that, to where I've pretty much been more self-reliant and self-focused in a lot of area, and so that's an area. It's easier to go start with myself than it is, with people around, and I'm having to almost do the opposite approach to what you were talking about, because now I'm opening myself up to community and different kind of things, and I'm having to bring almost an inverse approach to what you were saying. I'm having to, raise myself up enough, love myself up enough that I need that connection to allow me to go out into the world. Because I'm realizing now in my life that I need community and connection. I've been so comfortable with myself to the point where it's like I'm realizing that if I just stay in my little place, my vibration's starting to go down. If I stay isolated at this point in my life, it had a purpose, but the purpose is complete. And now, in order to keep moving my vibration up, when I'm talking with you all, like I'm realizing, even with this avenue of the show, this is so much fun to interact with all of y'all. It's great. And learning through that I believe the next version of this show is really continuing this with a community approach, a little bit different twist. And I've had to learn that through going through the process of the show as it's been, and it will be fun to see how it continues to develop. But I've really learned that in order for me to appreciate myself, it requires for me to appreciate others.
Well, humans are social by nature. We're pack animals. That doesn't mean that we don't have times where we need to retreat and seek solace. Even within the pack, that's important. But in choosing your pack is equally important, if not more important. You have to be careful who you choose to surround yourself with. Surround yourself with people you want to be like. That's because you will continually be inspired and raise the bar on yourself, and they will challenge you as well as support you in your development.
That's awesome.
I think that it's, from what I'm hearing both of you talking, coming from different perspectives, I believe that the inner, the hidden, is more important than what's visible. But I do like the approach of saying, I clean the public spaces because I want to express love. And because you did not say, I want to clean the spaces because I don't want them to criticize me. So it's a different approach, it's a healthier approach. But, it's like thinking that your clothes are more important than your health. And so the more hidden the space, the more important it is from the feng shui and the Chinese medicine perspective. The more internal, the more hidden. And so many times when people start their decluttering projects, I'll ask them, and I'd like to encourage everybody to do that, to declutter the top drawer on their nightstand. Just do that. If you feel like you're stuck, just do that. And it's not as easy as it sounds, but it's one of the most internal, intimate places in the home, is the top drawer in your nightstand, if you have one, right? And
I'm finding that enjoyable because the top drawer of my nightstand is full of paint.
Yay.
Most people have clothes in their nightstand or in their, dresser drawers. I have paint.
Wow.
the top drawer of the dresser is different from the top drawer of the nightstand.
No, it's my nightstand. Like my nightstand is my dresser. It's one of the same.
Place, right? But I think that what you said, we are pack animals, and it's important to know because in the United States you have so many things and that would make you think that you don't need other people. And for example, you could stay home and interrelate with people on social media, not ever having to talk to anybody face to face. And you can order all the things that you need online and have them shipped to your house, and the only person you interact is the person delivering the package, the only person with whom you interact. And because we have this system where all things are automated, it makes you have this illusion that you don't need people. And so for many of us, and I'll tell you, people who are in light workers or empaths, sometimes it's hard to be around other people. I mean, that's the truth. Because we tend to want to help. We have all these help buttons, that we see people suffering, we want to assist them. And but the thing is, we need that interaction, and we need a healthy interaction. So like you said, we need to choose who we gang up with. And I really like what you said, hang out with the people that are the way you would like to be. And somebody had posted something on social media that said if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I think that is really, that's really true. If you do not hang out with people that are somehow better than you in any way. And it's not a matter of comparing and saying, I'm better than you, you're better than me. It's not a matter of doing that, but it's a matter of actually saying, this is something that this person has that they're better at it than me. And so there's something I can learn from that person. There's something that I can improve just by hanging out with that person. And that is so important. And I have to schedule social life. I have to schedule social opportunities. Because and it's unbelievable because I used to be a social butterfly, but the more clearing and healing I have done on myself, the more intolerant I have become energetically in a way of many things. And so some of the people I used to hang out with, I can't hang out with them anymore for long periods of time. But and so my tendency is, like on Sundays, stay home and just do my regular things like going to the gym, going grocery shopping, and stick to that routine and not do anything different. And so I have to force myself, yes, I'm going to go to this show. Yes, I'm going to go to church. Yes, I'm going to go to this event because I know it's good for me. It's kind of like eating your collard greens. That you may not like them, but you need the nutrients. And so you make yourself eat them because they're good for you. Of course, that wouldn't work for my husband because he loves all grains. But most people, they have to force themselves. So it's like that, you need to, part of spiritual hygiene is to understand what you need in terms of emotional and mental stimulation and provide that for yourself, even though you might have this illusion that you can do without them.
Yeah, I so resonate with that. I had a question here that I thought it's a little bit, it's in alignment with what we're talking about, but I think it might be good to hit on this. It says, I am working on growing my own business, but still have to keep my day job. I'm struggling dealing with the people at my day job. They just don't get me or my path. I still need the income. Can you help shed some light here? And I thought there's probably a lot of people like this who having to be in situations that maybe there's a part of them feels like they're over it and they're bridging this new area of their life where they're moving into a new area, but it takes some work and dedication and to grow that new area of their life. And sometimes you have to be around people or choose to, if you choose to keep all of the material possessions in your life, you have to sometimes choose to be around people that maybe aren't your tribe, so to speak, but they work at this place where you connect with, this type of work for whatever reason. And so I was like, so how would you go about keeping a higher vibration when it's something around that maybe you don't really want to do. And I resonate with this question just from I had that experience before I left my last job, and years ago with when I worked for actually Denso, and it was the most difficult job and the people I least resonated with of any job I'd ever had in my whole life. And yet there was like this, I felt like it was an opportunity on some level to find gratitude in everything that was going on there. And I also felt like if I didn't deal with it, that it would probably come back somewhere, if I didn't, take some time to really find and do the work that I was there for the greatest good of the company and the people that were there, and trust that I just had to just put my focus in on that. And when I would put my focus in on that, it would lift me up instead of pull me down. Because if I would focus on, oh gosh, I just don't like being here, da 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 da, yeah, I'm not going to be here forever, but I have to find something to latch onto that would uplift me and take me up versus, hang me out down and create more drama or more things to be pissed off about, and then feel like I'd have to walk out. And I know that when I was in that situation, that I would have to go outside at lunch every day and just sit outside for that hour, and it would kind of be rejuvenating and clearing, and I would meditate and it would literally happen in chunks. Like I would literally just get half of the day, and then I would have to go out and shift my vibration again, get it recentered, and then I could go in and that sort of thing. Do you all have any thoughts for Patricia?
I did an exercise with some of the members that are involved in the documentary that I'm working on. And I started them out with a piece of paper, and I said, okay, I want you to write down everything that sucks. Tell me about it. List your complaints. List them all. Because I work with a lot of teenagers. And I also work with a lot of artists that are in the exact position that this person finds themselves in. I work with people in a job that I don't really like to pay my bills. And how do I continue to feel inspired enough to continue my work? My actual work, the one that I don't get paid for, that I do when I get home. And I said, what's the thing about your life that sucks? Pick a topic. And one picked school and one picked his job. And I said, okay, tell me everything about it that's awful. Write it on a piece of paper. And furiously, they were writing on this piece of paper. And after they were about 3 pieces in, I'm like, are you done? Do you have everything? And they're like, pretty much. I think that's all. And I said, awesome. And when you start with the first sentence, write the inverse. And you should have seen the looks on their faces as their jaw drops. And they were like, wait a minute, what? And I said, write the inverse. I said, here's my example. My leg hurts. I write the inverse. I am so thankful because I have not one but 2 legs, and both of them work, and both of them support me. And they had to go through their pages, and some of them that had like 3 pages took a long time trying to think of and write the inverse. And it helped them. And they were like, gosh, there was a lot that I was missing because I was focused on one aspect. I was missing the other. And one of the girls is very, 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 very funny and totally serious when she said, wait a minute. Complaining is the one thing I feel I have control over. Don't take that away from me. And I laughed and I said, well, you have to decide if you're ready to let it go, because you're never going to be happy if complaining is your crutch. It's just they don't go well together. And she was like, yeah, you're right. Being part of this group is all about that, is growing and moving beyond my comfort zone. And I was like, right. And we're not saying don't complain. We're saying for every complaint you have, find the inverse. Find what there is about that complaint to be thankful for. And then the other thing that I always think is really helpful, especially with kids that have like a teacher, like college students, and they end up with a professor that's terrible and they cannot get out of their class. I know I certainly have had that happen. You're paying large amounts of money to go through a class that you just are not enjoying. Every time I would want to complain, about the class, I said, okay, and you find yourself unconsciously starting, oh man, I don't want to go to class today. I hate class. Okay, great. Give me 3 things why I'm thankful I have to go to class today. Very quickly, you retrain yourself. And the more that you start to find, and it's hard, it's not easy. This is work. This is like going to the gym and pumping iron. It is definitely intensive work, but the more that you go to the gym and the more that you pick up that weight, the easier it gets. And the same is true with complaining. The more that you look at it with an attitude of conditioning yourself to find the silver lining, the faster you will find the worth in the silver you own.
Wow, beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are 2 aspects to the question. One is that she's doing her own business, and at the same time she's having to deal with people who don't understand her at work. And I think that people have to be realistic about business, because there are so many programs now that they offer people that are going to make 6 figures in a year or 2 years in all these coaching programs and stuff, and that's just unrealistic. In the United States, 50% of businesses go out of business in the first 2 years. Another chunk of that go out of business before the 5th year. The businesses that make it, like 90, get out of the red by the 5th year, which means the first time they actually make a profit is at the 5th year. And so you have to be realistic about that. Some people, they tell me, some of my clients tell me, but I'm doing the law of attraction. I'm doing everything right. I'm doing my affirmations. I'm changing my emotions. I'm working on my vibration. And I visualize it. I feel it. And it's my success. Every process takes time. Even when you're doing everything right in terms of manifesting, every process takes time. So you cannot be expecting that, because you just started a business last year, you can't make yourself miserable because you still need to keep another job in order to pay your bills, but feel grateful that you're able to pay your bills. The other thing is, if you are forced to work with people with whom you really do not resonate, you can put, this is from a friend that's a practitioner of acupuncture, and you can put a mirror on your heart chakra, and I had shared this in another meeting. You can just get a round mirror and put it on a chain and hang it here. But what I do is I have this Aurora Borealis crystal, and it's the Aurora Borealis, reflects the light on one end, but on the other side it has a mirror coating. So if I say go to somewhere and I'm dealing with a especially difficult person, I just turn it around, and it works. It works because you're protecting your heart chakra, and their energy is being returned to them by the mirror, so they stop. And it's not, it's not a matter of you send the energy back to them so they'll feel what you're feeling and they'll have the unhappiness they're creating for you. It's usually people when they tower over you energetically, they get a kick out of that. And if by placing a mirror you prevent them from doing that, they're not getting a kick, so they tend to stop.
Ah.
I recently shared on my Facebook an interview that was done by the Academy, the makers of the Academy Awards, and it was a sit-down interview with Gary and Penny Marshall and their son Scott, who are all 3 directors, and have done many, many, many movies that you probably didn't realize was actually filmed by the girl that played Laverne in Laverne and Shirley. And she talked about working together, the 3 of them working together as a family. And I posted a little clip of the interview on my Facebook the other day because my favorite quote of the whole thing was, "Success is not a sprint. It is a game of racing with endurance." It's really true. I mean, I'm on, let's see, I'm on my 6th year of really putting most of my focus there. But in business, I'm working for myself. I would say I'm full-time, I'm at 4 years in. Like full-time, really with a solid business plan, have it together, know what my goals are and where I'm going forward. And it's true. It's true. It is a game of endurance. It's sometimes success, the success that happens very quickly is a flash in the pan. If it came to you that easily, it usually leaves just as easily. If it's something that you had to diligently apply your time and your effort and your energy to in order to maintain a certain level of success, usually that's the success that lasts. That's where the legacy is created. It's all the work up front. Definitely in the entertainment industry, I mean, that's something we all say all the time. You were an overnight success that was 20 years in the making. You know, it was all the lessons that you took yourself to, all the times that you went home and cried because you didn't get a part. You know, I I deal with a lot of artists that have that problem. You know, they didn't get a part in something that they auditioned for, and they'll cry about, they cry about it, and I will say to them, that's wonderful that you're crying about it, because it tells me how important it is to you and how much you love it. And if you're willing to cry about it, then I know that you would bring a life to the part. And that's a wonderful thing when you're looking to hire or employ someone. You do want that person that would be crushed if they didn't get the job. You want that, because then when they do get the job and you give it to them, they're so over the moon, passionate, and excited, and happy just to be there. I mean, I've certainly seen that through filming this project. There are friends of mine that I've contacted, and I'll ask you once if you want to be part of the project. If you don't, that's cool, no problem. But the ones that have been the most rewarding interviews are the ones that go, oh my God, I'm so excited. What should I wear? What color? What do you think? And I'm like, you. This is a documentary. You're not playing a part. You're playing yourself. I'm in love with the person I know, the authentic, real you, the one that 2 o'clock in the morning is probably standing in their kitchen eating ice cream right out of the container. That's my friend. That's who I fell in love with. That's who America will fall in love with.
That's awesome. I love the realness of all of that. Let me just switch gears because I think there was one more on here. Actually, this is a good one for both of you. I talked a little bit about my experience with it on the show, but it was from Steve in Florida, and it said, lately, I have been having trouble connecting with my creative flow. I'm a design professional, and it's starting to be an issue. Does anyone have any thoughts on, like sometimes when you're in that mode, I know for myself, I have a lot of different streams of creativity going. There's the show, there's clients, there's classes, then there's my artwork that I'm playing with, and a couple different forms of artwork, electronic art, and then hand painting and stuff like that. And it's sometimes sometimes I'll just be like, oh, on overload with all of it, and have to back out. And sometimes I realize I have too much on my plate, and then I have to go, oh, wait a minute. In order for me to clear that space for me to keep flowing in that area, it's time for me to clear out some of these other ones and complete them, and then come back to this one. Or sometimes I'll find that there's a really big emotional healing that's right there in front of my nose, that's waiting for me to dive into. Or I know recently I've had this one painting I'm working on, and I just personally, it's like there's so many things going on. It needs my total unconditional love, and until I can bring that to the table, I just set it to the side. Do you all have anything like that, or any comments about that question?
I think anytime that because as artists, we do have wax and wane as far as inspiration. I mean, we've had this talk. It was just, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I said to you, oh, I think I've hit a little bit of a desert for a quick minute. So I always think you should ask yourself, are you over or understimulated? Because usually a lack of fuel comes from one of those two things. You're either overstimulated or you're understimulated. And then depending on what that answer is, takes you to the next box. If you're overstimulated, it's important for timeouts. Vacations are important things. They can be a staycation. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes a vacation is 5 minutes in your backyard, and sometimes it's somewhere else and it's for a longer period. But if you're overstimulated, you need to figure out a way to unwind some of that stimulation and let it go in order to get back to the truth of inspiration. If you're understimulated, then you need to figure out what inspires you and then expose yourself to it. When I am understimulated, the best, or overstimulated, sometimes it's both, the thing for me is a nature documentary. Something about the announcer's voice, and here we see a pale blue dolphin swimming in the stream. Yeah, I like dolphins. It completely changes everything about. I mean, I did that the other day. I had a day where I've been doing these interviews every day. They're super intensive. I'm dealing with press and all this stuff that's going on, trying to keep everything juggled. And I was way overstimulated. Everything was noisy. And I looked at my family and I said, I love you all dearly, and I am super overstimulated. Every sound seems to just be getting on my nerves today. So I am taking a temporary retreat, and I didn't even retreat to my own bedroom. I retreated to my daughter's bedroom because she has the big TV with the Xbox that she bought with her own money. And I said, I'm going to go use your fancy toys and sit in your bedroom, and I'm going to paint pretty pictures until I feel better. I'll come out later this evening. Y'all get the big TV in the living room. And everyone left me alone, and by the end of the day, I had painted a painting that I absolutely fell in love with. The article that I've been waiting was finally launched about the documentary that I'm doing, and I sold a painting all within those like 3 hours that I shut the world out and listened to, the beautiful dolphins swimming in the stream. So I certainly recommend that. The other thing that I like when I have a project right now called Project Chiropractic. I'm working with a chiropractic office that I am in love with. They definitely put people over profits. And for me, that's really inspiring when I see someone not in it for the money, but in it for the effect that they have on humanity. And they acknowledge that money is a byproduct of that effect. So I am working on this project where I went into their office and I filmed for about an hour. And I'm posting those pictures with commentary online, one every day for the next 40 some days. Just sharing back with them what about their space has inspired me. What about their business? What about their actions? And every Wednesday when I go and see my lovely women at the chiropractic center, I am met with such enthusiasm that I'm excited to see them and they're excited to see me. And it's the return of energy. It's they give into me and I give right back to them. And there is something so powerfully beautiful about that they have definitely found themselves a client for life, because the relationship, the symbiotic give and take is so rhythmic that it's very easy to be involved with them.
Mike, did you say that he was a graphic designer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's, well, I agree with everything that was expressed before, but I think, because I was a graphic designer for 30 years and I just retired from that last year. And there were times in my life when I was supervising young designers, and the thing that I told them most of the time, graphic design is not about you, it's not about your creativity. Graphic design is about the client and what the client needs. So usually what we call creativity in graphic design comes from being able to connect with the client. So it's not something, graphic design is not the place for your artist to shine. It's commercial work. And when you have that clear, it's a lot easier to be successful as a graphic designer. So if you have a desire to be an artist, you can have a side business as an artist, and where you can express your own creativity. And so that's the one thing. The other thing is everything that I could recommend regarding feeling stuck or blocked would come from Julia Cameron and her book, The Artist's Way, which it changed my life. And so certain things that she does, you need to feel the well. You need to clear your mind. She recommends writing morning pages and going for walks and things, and having an artist date, so you can fill up your creative well, and then you can draw from that. But if you let yourself get exhausted, then you're not going to be able to produce anything. But I think it's very important to differentiate that, because I have, been from being in the profession for so many years, I have seen many people make themselves miserable because they cannot make the distinction between commercial work and their own creative selves.
That's awesome. And I, Jenica and I just last week, I think, weren't we talking about that book? That is a phenomenal book, The Artist's Way. I've definitely spent some time a few years back with that book. It really helped me get me started on when I was started painting and moving through the old blocks of I'm not a painter.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So that's a highly recommended one for this person to take a look at that book. It would be an awesome kind of set of tools to follow. Well, you all have any other thoughts for today that you'd like to share about any experiences or anything?
I think, I want to, go back to decluttering, because I see so many people, they feel so guilty about how they clutter. And sometimes their space is not cluttered, it's just messy. And so I think it's important to differentiate that, because sometimes some people have a messy style and some people like it messy. But the way we define clutter, which really lowers your vibration, is a mess that stays as a mess for a long time. And so, when things that start collecting dust, where spiders start building condos, things like that. But just a messy space is not necessarily that. And especially parents, I feel like now at the age that my children are, it's so much easier. And when I talk to parents that have little kids and they're having to pick up hundreds of toy pieces every day from the floor. And a messy space is not necessarily clutter. And I have to insist that people be compassionate with themselves. And so it's important to work on the mirror of your life, that is your space, right? Your home, your workspace. Because the more you raise the vibration of your space, the more your own personal vibration will raise. If you let it go, your vibration is going to go down. So as long as you're moving in the right direction, it doesn't matter how much you're doing or how fast you're going.
Yeah, there's always some life area, and I like to just emphasize those kind of 4 life areas. I bet in feng shui and some other things, you could go way more in depth with this, but just the physical, the emotional, the mental, and energetic areas of our life, and kind of finding the one for anyone out there, that being open to which one might be where your weakness lies and focus in on that area. And I know for me, the physical side's been really important, keeping the...
in feng shui, we do relate to that, but we call them levels of existence. Like the mental, spiritual, the emotional, and then the physical. But we have 9 life areas in the space, and they're very materialistic life areas for most. For example, like when we talk about wealth, when I work with clients, people will say, "Oh, my friends are my wealth, my family is my wealth, my spiritual life is my wealth." And I tell them, no, it's not. Your wealth is how much stuff you got. That's because it's reality. We live in material bodies that have material needs, for example. So there is a life area devoted to spirituality. There is a life area devoted to rest and meditation and things like that. But so like what you were saying, you were saying 4, and in feng shui we identify 3 levels of existence. But every life area has an expression in each of the 3 levels of existence. So when you're talking about wealth, for example, there's the prosperity is how your wealth grows, and that is earth. And the emotional aspect is your self-worth. And the wealth itself, because wealth means it has a spiritual meaning, even though a lot of people in our culture, they are, I bet you right now there's people who are cringing at the thought that wealth is spiritual. But it is because it's a creation. Wealth is a material creation, and we are here to have an experience in the physical. And so with our thoughts and our emotions, but we're having an experience in the physical. We have to go buy the food, we have to prepare it, we have to eat. It's very physical. And a lot of people, especially a lot of people who are highly evolved, they feel very resentful at having to have this physical experience, at having to be in the body and things like that. Yeah, but so repeat the four that you mentioned. The four.
Physical, the emotional, the mental, and the energetic.
Okay. Yeah. So in Chinese wisdom, we would say the physical is action, not the physicality of things, but things moving. And then we would put the energetic and the emotional together. And then we have the mental, spiritual as another level. I think it's interesting to compare, how different schools of thought have identified the same phenomenon and just given it different names.
It is wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that the important thing for me right now would be there's always room for progress, but sometimes survival is success. I think we can always look at areas of our life and say, oh, I would like this better, I would like that better, but you have to take note of where you are and be appreciative of where you are as well as where you're going. With my daughter is going to be a senior in high school this year. And so we have days, and like I said, my house is full of teenagers all the time. And they come home and I can just see the look. They haven't even said anything. I open the door and I'm like, oh, your day was like that. And that's the time that I immediately look at them and go, high five for surviving. Look at you. You made it through your whole day. But you in third period didn't think that was possible. Look, you did it. And instantly they totally change. They high five me, even if it's kind of half-hearted. But there's always a little bit of chuckle. And now they start to initiate it. You know what I mean? Like if they've had a tough day, they know what I'm going to say when I open the door. So they come to the door and they'll just hold their hand up to begin with. I survived. And I think it's important. Some days surviving is enough. You know what I mean? It's not that you're not knowing that tomorrow you still want to climb a mountain, but it's going, today I put a little dent in that mountain and I'm going to pitch a tent here for the night, say goodnight, and be thankful for where I'm at.
I so agree with that, and I also think that we need to, especially in our Western society, and especially in the United States, that a lot of people have this exaggerated idea of success. You have to do something really remarkable, really out of the way. Like you're not successful unless you have the mansion, the luxury car, you're traveling abroad. We have set up this standard of success. It's not necessarily what success is going to look like for every person. For some people, it's having a tiny house. I have friends that post on social media their dream is to live in a tiny house and then minimize everything. So I think it's important to define success in terms of our own values.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance of this bringing gentleness into the whole thing and love into the whole mix of it all.
One of the people I interviewed is she has a playwriting storytelling company. She works not only in a theater aspect, but she works with a lot of corporations and team building. And one of the things that I was really struck by that she said is, we must learn to walk gently upon the earth. And I loved that. She said it doesn't mean that you're not going somewhere. It means that you're doing so in accordance with the environment and with the people you find yourself in company of. To walk gently.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
It is.
Well, I think that we've had a lovely talk today, and if you all have anything else you would like to share before we just kind of wrap up for today?
I think in the future I would be really interested to hear what you have to say about fashion trends and how current trends that are happening relate to your study. Like the glasses, everyone's wearing these glasses. Why are they hot? What's going on? Why is flannel coming back? It's my favorite. I think I'd be very, very interested to hear what you have to say regarding that. I think there's a lot to it. What's happening in the world and why it's happening, and what's the message that's behind it.
Sounds awesome.
Hmm?
Well, I thank both of you so much for being a part of the journey today and discussion, and we'll look forward to seeing you both again soon.
Sounds great.
Thank you for creating this space.
Absolutely. You're so welcome. Thanks for joining. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.